I feel like I look as tired as I feel.
Tis the world we live in right now. Holy moly. Hello, April 2026.
Oh my God. Mm.
I know my eyes just got really heavy all of a sudden.
I just feel very, not in a bad way, very just like,
What does that mean?
I don't know. Just like
Is that grounded?
grounded, but also just like,
In a puff of air kind of way?
yeah. Like I'm grounded in a cloud,
Yes.
but I'm not spacey.
Yeah.
Like my head is grounded. My body feels really relaxed and grounded. But there's also this like not struggle to breathe, but just like need for intaking as much oxygen calmly as possible.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean.
And it's an interesting duality because I woke up and felt more hopeful than I've felt in a really long time. And more like the future is becoming a little bit clearer to me every day. And so today I woke up and was like, oh my God, like tears of joy in a way, like, but yet also this like moving or lack thereof moving. It's just a weird duality space I'm in today. Not in a bad way at all. Like I physically feel like my body is moving as if I was like in full depression.
Yeah.
But my mind and my heart is like, hey, this is great. We're happy. We're hopeful. We're lovely. So it's a weird space.
Yeah. A lot of dichotomy to hold.
Which is super important to note right now is like, we have to realize that two things can be true at the same time. And we've literally been indoctrinated to not believe that that is a possibility, that two things can be true at the same time.
Yep.
But they are, and we can hold two emotions at the same time, and we can have two experiences, completely opposite experiences at the same time. And that's me today. How are you feeling?
Same. I have so much emotion in me and just the feeling of change and uncertainty, but also trust and recovering from this emotional roller coaster I've been on for really like the last 2.5 years. So Tara and I have been talking about changing up the format a little bit, just always keeping things fresh and spicy. And
It's called living intuitively, baby.
So I think we're entering our blueprint era where we're offering some blueprints for you to choose from, sort of like a Sears catalog back in the day when you could buy your house in a catalog and then build it yourself.
Wait, that's the first time you've used blueprint era, and I am loving that.
Okay, good. Came to me this morning.
Love that.
Literally everything I'm about to share today came to me this morning because yesterday I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to say tomorrow. And that's living intuitively, baby. I really think that we have some recipes to offer during these tumultuous times. So,
and we're still moving intuitively like we were in this last era of frequency broads, where it's like, okay, what's coming up for us? But we've actually connected a little bit before, and we're just like, hey, this is the theme that's coming in. Let's lock in on one theme so we can kind of give some blueprints, give some, energy reading of what's happening within that blueprint, but also like, what are our next steps? We very much at the end of last episode felt like, and I think I was in so much of like a heat at that moment. I wanted to like bring out the whiteboard and be like, here are your steps and ba. And we can still definitely do that. But before we start this new era, we want to be really clear with our intention about this. Similarly to the entire existence of frequency broads, We are not here to tell you this is the one and only truth. This is the one and only path to success. This is the one and only way that we build the world that we're all hoping to build. What we're offering is the instructions that we've been given, the instructions that we're trying to live by. Some might be more detailed and some might be broad for you to get exactly that, the blueprint. And you get to decide, is this a blueprint you want to follow? Is this a blueprint you want to change and fix in any way? Like, this is just to share what we have so that way you can take it in and hopefully be inspired to follow suit or find something that resonates with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, today,
Let's do the damn thing.
so I'm like, I have, as always, a million things to share, but I guess we haven't checked in since last week. I believe we are still talking about, considering you got everything this morning and I don't know what you got, I believe we're still talking about the matriarchy. Is that correct?
Yes.
In a way. Of course, it always ends up in 500 directions.
I have something very specific I want to talk about.
Let's go.
Okay, so you're most likely a very sensitive soul if you're listening or intrigued by this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So this message goes out to the sensitive souls who are used to, how did I write this? Mirroring, alchemizing, and transmuting on behalf of others. Now is the time we stop doing that. And it's a lot harder to say or to do or to whatever, say we're going to do. Because it's something we're conditioned to operate in a way to keep the peace. And there is so much rage and anger bubbling up, especially for men who have never had the permission or tools to process and alchemize on their own. And I've had a handful of situations just in the last few weeks where I'm like, I cannot be the only one experiencing this. And I'm experiencing my own rage for obvious reasons. But that's where I'd like to offer a little bit of wisdom into
Rage.
More being the mother, the Christ consciousness mother, and choosing the path of love thy neighbor instead of the East Coast, I'm a fucking, the part of me that wants to rage back and to mirror back and to fight back.
Yeah.
And I realized I do not have the fight in me anymore. The fight looks very different. And the fight is choosing to go within the heart and to love in the moments where I really just want to punch a motherfucker in the face. And it's really, really hard because I feel like what I say that and then I am given these situations where it's like, okay, how are you going to respond to this?
Yeah. Always.
So that's where I'm at. I don't know. I'm like, we need a little foreplay before we get into that topic, right?
I mean, that does really align with some things that came through for me, but slightly different. I think that there is a sense of rage that is needed. And I know you're not denying that. I know you're just saying like we have to come through with compassion, right? It's similar to what I was saying last week that like love is not complacent. Love isn't just I'm going to sit on the sidelines and be like, sorry that's happening to you. I love you anyway. Like, yes, and I think that women are stepping into this new form of rage where it's not to destroy, it's to help, right? And that's a lot of what I was talking about last time is like, and I'm like, oh my God, this connects with so many things that came through. And I'm like, which direction do I want to go in first?
Wait, I have such a perfect visual for how I would describe this approach I'm talking about. So imagine the mother, right? The baby is spitting up, right? The baby has no ability to clean up its spit on its own. The mother has to constantly clean up the mess. How I'm visualizing this is when the projections start happening from like grown-ass human adults, we no longer go and like dab up and clean up the mess. We live by example and show them how we clean up our own mess as individuals. but we are no longer picking up or holding a freaking bib around grown-ups' necks and cleaning up the mess for them.
Girl, you have unleashed something so like rageful inside me for that particular thing. And I am not going to get into it because this is not the place to, but not just for grown-ass men, also for everyone in your life, including the children. You're not supposed to be saving them from unpleasant experiences. That's where we learn our boundaries. That's where we learn a lot about ourselves and how to self-advocate and how to take care of ourselves and how to self-regulate. And we've gotten into the habit of cleaning up everyone's mess before they even realize it's messy.
Yes.
And it's burning us out as women in the world. And it's also creating men and women as they get older who do not have the skills to take care of themselves, never mind to turn to their neighbors and take care of them. So that's the only piece I'm going to say about that, because as a teacher and seeing what these well-intended parents, these loving parents are doing that is really a detriment to these children, it feels like a state of emergency to me about how we are not concerned for the lack of resiliency that our children hold and what that means for their future. Because sad to say, humanness is hard and you need to be resilient. And in that resiliency, when you learn that you can do hard things and that you have a gift to offer, then you're more likely to help your neighbor, and your neighbor is more likely to help you when you're down. So yes, we need to stop fucking cleaning the mouths of the dribbling idiots and start saying, watch me as I clean my mouth, and you could do it on your own, or you could be crusty and rusty forever.
And I mean, the systems are collapsing. So why try to clean everything up in this spotless perfection?
Ooh.
You can clean up a little bit at a time, but be very intentional, because it's going to drain you to some degree.
Yes. So, okay. For me, and you talked about a visual, I did get a visual yesterday, which you can't see it, but it's really terrible fucking stick figures because I did not feel like writing anymore. I wrote like 4 hours. So let me backtrack a little bit. Yesterday was the National No Kings protests, and how fucking beautiful it is to remember that these protests are also such a beautiful space to see how much we all do have in common. Like, this is 8 billion people that marched yesterday to show
billion?
8 million 8 million people. I'm like, start a rumor. 8 million people who marched yesterday. That means there's 8 million people in America who are on the same side, and we forget that and we don't get to see that. So, you know, the only time we see that is when it's the individual on Instagram or the individual on TikTok. So these things are super important. Sadly, this round I was not able to make it. Got a flat tire the night before, ended up taking it in that morning, hoping that I could get fixed. Long and behold, all 4 tires need to be done. I could not put down my car payment in that day, nor were they telling me that that was the case until after the protest started. But I decided to still be a part in a different job. So I went to the park, I set an altar, and for the duration of everyone marching, I sat in meditation. And I pulled cards and I journaled. And so long and behold, I did not want to journal anymore at the end of that. So I drew a really terrible stick figure picture. And basically what they were saying, or what they were showing me, is this idea of this rage and fighting without necessarily destruction. Okay. The main message of this was the system only works. And I say the system because I mean any and all systems that are in place right now only work when we contribute to it. So yes, there is a level of destruction, like we got to, whatever, we're going to break this, we're going to break that. But most of that destruction is our own illusion of empowerment. Not destruction of burning a building, not destruction of hitting your neighbor, right? Now, you do what's best for you. These are blueprints, you know what I mean? But what they were showing is the system destructs itself when we just don't contribute anymore. It is feeding off of us. So they showed me this imagery of
And by they, your guides.
My guides. Yes. Thank you. Actually, I didn't call in my guides yesterday. I called in the light council yesterday, like everyone's guides. And I was like, I need to just like click. I'm like, thank you guys. I'm going to go to your boss.
Can I speak to your manager?
Can I speak to your manager, please? And they showed me this concept of like the protest, right? And they said when we are not resisting, when we are not reforming, when we are not building, right? And we are just contributing, then all they're doing is siphoning our energy and feeding themselves, siphoning our energy and feeding themselves, right? And usually that comes through being disheartened, being rageful, being fearful, being angry, right? It goes through us into the earth and into them. Or not necessarily into the earth, but part of it does too. That's besides the point. So what they were saying is when we do things like protest the way that we've been protesting, right? You saw the butterfly field in New York. You saw the Handmaid's Tales in Tennessee. You saw the frog and drum circles out here in Portland. And when we're doing this with a sense of joy, with a sense of creation, with a sense of expression, not fear thereof, then we're cutting off that supply. Because it's not just, fuck you, get the fuck out of here. Don't get me wrong. Fuck ICE, yeah, for sure. But it's still coming from that place of because I love my neighbor so much, I won't let you do that. Not because I hate you in a mask. It's because I love my neighbor so much, right? So we're cutting off that fear supply. And when we start to cut that fear supply and continue upon this, then what we're doing is that energy that would feed them that can't is now feeding ourselves. And we have this kind of cyclical, reciprocal energy between us and the collective and earth that cuts off their food supply so much that they just die on their own, right? So what they told me is that the focus needs to not be on destruction of systems, but from disillusionment, right? That these systems are what is needed, that there is no other option. As well as there is still the need to fight for those who cannot leave the system, for those who cannot be a part of it. For example, we may not have seen as many people of color at these protests, and that's perfect. That's fine because they are the most likely to get hurt during these parts. So we need to march for them, right? It's the same piece where people who were MAGA are coming out of MAGA, right? And everyone's like, well, fuck you if you voted for Trump. Like, I'm never gonna be okay with that. I'm never gonna forgive you. But as white people, it's our fucking job to clean up MAGA's mess. Whether you're racist or not, we contribute. And you can sit here and be like, well, I'm also queer. Well, I'm also a woman and I've been oppressed and blah, blah, blah. Your whiteness comes first. Your whiteness is always seen first. So it is our job to clean up the mess that whiteness made. It is not the people of color's job to clean up this mess.
No.
So it's those things where we have to recognize where fighting is needed because we need to fight for those who have been fighting, who can no longer fight, who are captured, who are hurt. But our focus should be on creation. That's where our intention should be. And that's where I think the energy of the matriarchy really steps in.
Well, okay. Here's what's really interesting is the whiteness, right? Like us being white and that identity, it really is a loss of identity or sovereignty.
Yes.
And the message I keep getting is soften into your sovereignty. You don't need to come out being this, I'm a warrior, I'm sovereign. Like play with sovereignty being soft and how the feminine approach to life. But I've been wanting to say this on the podcast for a while. Like, can we just acknowledge Black culture and how fucking disgusting and horrible our existence would be if we did not have, especially when it comes to music, Black musicians, so much soul, so much life, so much sense of community that we're learning from what has been done for hundreds of years by people of color, which is banding together,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the power of community. I actually took this quote from a lovely person named Casey Molina. Casey said, create a community so deep that it outlasts the collapse of these systems. Which, doesn't that feel so good?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But yes, to all of what you're saying.
No, but you're 100% correct, right? Like, and I even saw someone, and I think I'm going to like watch their webinar. I cannot remember the name of them. I will link below. But they were even talking about like word magic, right? Like word spells and the difference between like whiteness and blackness, right? And, you know, we're starting to uncover our history much, like so much history that we don't even know. You know, as America, we were like, yeah, we're so knowledgeable and they tell us everything and it's a free country. The amount of history that we don't know about our own fucking land, and it's only 250 years old. Never mind the history. I mean, not our land. I mean, our country. Our land is older than that. Never mind what happened before that is incredible. And the more that I'm learning, I'm like, what do you mean we only learned about the Holocaust where there was a genocide in the Congo 30 years before that? What do you mean that white slave owners were already eating the children of slaves? So this is not new. Like, this is stuff that has been happening. We've just been so blind to it as quote unquote white people. But then even taking that, what you just said, remembering that, or just learning this fucking year that the potato famine was actually them starving Irish people because they were stealing their crops. There was plenty of potatoes, but they sold them and killed thousands of people to make money instead of. So it wasn't just the color of your skin. It was, I don't know fucking religions, but whoever English was, Catholic, Protestant, I don't know, whatever the fucking type of religion they were, that colonized and spread everything. It's the same thing why we call it the Middle East. Why is it the Middle East? It's because it was the Middle East of England. You know what I mean? It's just all of these little things. And this woman spoke about the word black. And she was like, my pants, my leggings right now are the color black. People are copper, people are brown, people are, you know what I mean? Like even just segregating that into white and black, or the using the word black, which is like the lack thereof, or be lack. She broke it down to like BLAC, like be lack. Like it's all this spell work in the words that we're choosing, and it's a reminder to like our most important job right now, especially as we want to focus on creation, is first that destruction of oh my God, I can't even fucking say the word. Colonialism.
There you go.
In my fucking brain, in my very own being, in the way that I understand history, in learning and all of that. So what's important for me in building this is recognizing the, you know, if we're looking at matriarchy, recognizing the patriarchy within myself. Recognizing the patriarchy that are in my day-to-day routines, recognizing the patriarchy that's in the systems that I am a part of, and then the larger systems. So, because once I can disillusion myself to think, oh, well, I'm living in my divine feminine, am I? Or am I creating structures that look like the feminine, quote unquote, that are still under the lens of patriarchy? And, you know, they keep saying it's hard, we don't know, we haven't seen it. Actually, there's mad matriarchies in history and right now, whether it's in the animal kingdom or in, you know, tribal countries or, you know, indigenous cultures. It's there. We're just not educated on it.
To come full circle to how we started off this topic today, I think about the one emotion that men especially have been granted permission under the guise of patriarchy to feel, and that is anger. That is really the only acceptable emotion men can feel.
And it is the one emotion that women are not allowed to feel.
The crows just went off. Did you hear that?
And that's because anger is power. It's momentum, but it needs to have a clear direction, and that's how we cause change, right? So it's not that we don't need to be angry. but it's about not using the anger just for momentum's sake, just for like destruction, just for rah, 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 and more of with intention and integrity. I can use that anger as momentum for change.
And learning how to experience anger without projecting it and blaming others for it, I think, is the first place to start.
Yeah. Use your anger to help empower yourself, to help recognize, I tell the kids, anger is one of my favorite emotions because it's my alarm system that ain't right. And we got into the habit, speaking of how we coddle our children, we got into the habit of, oh, that ain't right, then that person needs to change. If that ain't right for you, then you need to move. You need to go get something better. You need to be in a different relationship. You cannot control somebody else's actions or feelings or responses. You can only control your own. So speaking in simple terms of like a relationship, whether it's romantic, friendship, family, if that person is treating you poorly, sure, you want to first be like, hey, you're treating me poorly. I don't really like that. Here's what I need from you. But at the end of the day, that anger, because that first part is disappointment and sadness. You're like, oh God, that hurt. I don't like that. I'm going to communicate that with you. If they repeat it, it's that anger that rises in you. And that's the momentum to leave, not to hit them, not to yell at them, because you cannot control their behavior. It's the momentum to go, this is so not right. I'm going to exit this relationship.
Yeah.
Because I've already communicated when I was upset and hurt, and you did it anyway. So now this anger is rising in me. This rage is rising in me, not to have vengeance on you, but to have the momentum for me to go and do and get what I need outside of this situation.
I think a lot of what we're calling anger right now is actually grief, powerlessness, and disconnection that hasn't been given a voice. I don't know why I keep thinking like anger to me just feels like the initial vomit, and then like dry heaving is the grief. And I feel like I'm very much in the like dry heaving.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I still feel that anger, but
I want to talk a little bit more specifically in blueprints for the matriarchy, if you're cool with that.
Let's do it.
So first and foremost, I love this concept, and people have been breaking it down a lot, that the matriarchy is not that women are in charge. That is just through the lens of patriarchy still, because patriarchy asks the question, who's in charge and who's underneath that and who's underneath that and who's underneath that. Matriarchy asks, are the children safe? Is the community stable? Is the next generation going to be okay? So now the emphasis is not who's in charge, it's how are our most vulnerable experiencing life right now. Okay. So that is the first step, is to start changing your own perception in the things in your life, right? Where can you make small movements? So it's not, okay, how do I get my money? How do I lead this group? But how do I soften and say, what does the most vulnerable in my space need, right? If you're a healer, again, I'm trying to keep it very like flat and surface as possible, just to like understand it. But for example, if you're a healer and say you're a yoga teacher, right? How can you make it most accessible for your most vulnerable client? Maybe it's a sliding scale. Maybe it's that you're modifying a lot and giving cues. Maybe it's going and supporting them physically and being like, oh, let me help you like tilt this way or place your thing, right? So it's those small ways that it's not about, in that analogy, the yoga teacher is not trying to be the best yoga teacher in the world. They're trying to make sure the person in their class is getting what they need, right? And it's those small things. So there are ways that I've seen that we can move into this matriarchal space. And there were a couple that came to me. And then I want to see if you thought of any others that can like kind of feed into that. But one of them is mutual aid, right? We've gotten into the habit of I donate to organization for people who need it. It's not about people who need it. It's we all need it, right? So it starts small. It's usually starts with people being like, oh God, what if grocery prices and gas prices get so high? Maybe I should stock up for the week, right? And then eventually it's, well, what if the chain supply becomes difficult, or what we're seeing with the crops right now and everything that's happening with, go on forever, right? So you start thinking, how can I sustain myself for a month? Right? And you start to think this way of, how can I take care of myself or my neighbors? Oh, well, I have a fruit tree and they have a chicken coop. Not for me as a vegan, but okay, they'll give me eggs and I'll give them some of my fruit, right? And it's those small things that we do in preparation for the downfall, when actually the more you do that, the more you realize, well, I don't really need that system anymore, right? So it's not about destroying the system, but it's about you building new systems within yourself. That mutual aid, it's not about those who need it, it's that we all need it. Another one is this idea of leaving the old internet into the new internet. Internet is not going away. Connection through the screen is not going away. But how do we make it more matriarchal? Right now it's very patriarchal because it's who has the most views, who has the most comments, how can I get the most likes, right? Who
wants to buy my crap?
Exactly. And now it's just come to AI slop where it's just bots arguing with bots in the comments and none of it is fucking real anyway. Yeah. So how do we shift into, I'm not posting to get likes, I'm posting because either that's what's important to me or I want to share this with the people that I love. So I saw someone talking about, don't post on Instagram, make your own website. Then you own all of your own shit. It's not free for anyone to use. They're not censoring you. And then maybe we make a hub where it's like, oh, all my friends' websites are here and we can just look at each other's websites, right? Or using something like Blue Sky instead of Twitter, or using like these alternatives. And the idea is not that they're going to be the new and exciting thing, is that it's not exciting because being on the internet is not your sole purpose here. So it's coming into the space of using the internet for community. Oh, I'm going to be a part of this email group or be in this website or be in this online collective, but not because we're all just posting random shit, but because we're supporting each other. Again, switching it from that patriarchy to the matriarchy of care and support and sharing.
I have something kind of on the same page as you, but I'm calling it something different. So I want to acknowledge mutual aid. I very much, I see it as changing our perception and relationship with reciprocity, because we haven't really been taught reciprocity as white folks.
No.
And even if someone cannot give you a fair trade deal, right? Like you are still coming at it with, I have these resources and I'm going to share this with you. And, hopes that when you are on your feet, you will share whatever resource you have with whomever at the time, knowing that it all comes full circle eventually, just like karma. My favorite bitch.
Yeah. And I think it's tricky. And I understand because we've been suppressed for so long, especially as creators, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as healers, right? And we've been charging less because because that's what we're told we're worth, right? And then I think 2020 came and everyone was like, they said we don't like 2020. 2020 came and everyone was like, wait, I'm actually worth more. Wait, I even see it in teachers. We're like, no, we deserve more money for the things that we do. And also, I'm not going home after work every day to work another 5 hours for free, right? So we're understanding our worth, but we want to be mindful that it doesn't then feed the ego of, well, I deserve everything, right? So we got to be mindful of that shift. So I understand it's going to be tricky when we're talking about reciprocity, what you're saying. We're not asking you to put yourself in a hole by giving everything away for free. We understand that we're still in the dynamics of paying rent, in the dynamics of, having to go to the grocery store, but there is some wiggle room. And once we deprogram our mind from the patriarchy of money equals success, we'll start to realize I don't need $5 billion for my business when I can just make sure that, look at the fucking Portland TSA. They are working for free, although last night they just signed the thing, which is very exciting. But they were working for free, not because they were like, oh, well, they were like, I know that my community needs to get to where they're going. So all we're going to do is please give us gift cards. Please give us basic necessities like toilet paper or canned goods so we can take care of ourselves, because we're going to show up for you because we know that you need to maybe go see a family member or do your business or celebrate and go, wherever. So it's those kind of reciprocities, like you're saying, it will come back, but we've been so starved that we're so fearful that we're not going to get what we need. So we hoard everything.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to understand that we're all people of like light and challenges. So what do you offer the community? And wherever you're lacking, someone's going to pick that up. If you open up your heart and you set that frequency of reciprocity, it'll come back to you.
We are inherently good people.
We are.
Not sinners.
We're not.
Till we get a little older, but whatever. I won't go down that avenue.
I think the only other one that I put down for kind of ways to break out of that patriarchy in your own life is similar to you talking about, like, it's rage, but it's also guilt, and it's also, you know, all of this that's not witnessed. I saw this person talk about rant nights for women. And she said, I've never actually hosted a rant night. And she was like, but I think people should start. And it's this concept where you get all of these women together and someone just gets to rant about men, about the patriarchy, about women, about themselves, about their partners, about their kids. It doesn't fucking matter. Rant, and everyone will hold you. And that's it, just to be held. And that's another way to build that matriarchy, right? You are witnessed, and you are still valued, and you are still loved. And then after everyone gets to rant, they move their bodies. And they're like, let's alchemize this, right? So it's these little places these little communities you want to put in place. So while everything is falling around you, you just go, oh, look at that. If I'm feeling rage, cool, let's rant about it. And then move our body, and then bake bread about it and give it to my neighbors. I don't know.
I am part of this monthly salon. Just had our second session the other day, and there's a topic each month with questions and prompts. But the idea is that we are able to share our thoughts and have a safe space to be heard and seen. And it feels so good to be given this safe space to hear perspectives, because I work remotely. I, mostly talk about work stuff.
Yeah.
And then I talk about friends' life stuff. So it's nice to have this other space where I get to hear just what's happening in people's minds and ideas that isn't driven by patriarchal gossip, which tends to be talking crap about people behind their backs. And I think the idea of a salon is kind of tying back to that time where women would come together and they would gossip. And gossip used to be this rant fest or this sharing of ideas. And patriarchy didn't want us coming together to think and to flex that muscle in our mind and our imagination and creativity. And so even kind of redefining my relationship with gossip to be more of sharing information.
Venting.
Sure.
As opposed to gossiping.
It could be. Yeah.
And what I love about this idea that you're bringing in, similar to the rant night, is it's not like you're saying, like you and your friends talking about like the drama of the people that we know, right? Or even if it's the drama of the world, on the world stage, because it becomes an echo chamber. These are my people. I know what they think. We probably think similarly in most regards. You and I doing this podcast, even though we don't talk, we come and go, yup, which is lovely. It feels good to feel witnessed and also like, yeah, I agree with you. But it is so powerful to be in a space with strangers, to be in a space with, and it could still have a theme, like there's like Witchy Wednesdays at one of the places out here where it's just like witches come together and talk about the work that they've been doing and what's going on in the world and how they're using their spells. So like there can be a theme, like there could be like there's questions you guys are thinking about. But it's still this idea that it's not just an echo chamber. Like you're saying, it's sharing of ideas. It's sharing of wisdom. It's not this, again, control of I need to know it all and not share it because that puts me in charge. It dissolves that and builds this community.
Or equally so, that there is a safe place to disagree.
Yes.
Which we don't really know how to do that anymore.
No, we don't. And I think it's because of, in part, social media and that echo chamber of just like, well, if I get a like, then I'm agreed upon and my opinion is fact then, as opposed to an opinion. Or even if it is fact, coming through and being like, two things could be true.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Speaking of fun fact, did you know that the Roman Empire, Catholicism, erased Jesus's years between ages 18 and 30? They removed that entire part of his story.
Interesting.
Right? And they killed him off at like what, age 33 or something like that?
I don't
know. Early 30s.
I guess 33, right? 33 is the Christ
Jesus
consciousness
year.
so I would assume he's dead that year, which is
Wild.
interesting now that I think about it.
Because you're how old?
32.
Oh, you haven't even entered your Jesus year. How old are you?
Wait, no shit. Am I 33? I'm 33. I don't even fucking know. Wait, am I 33 or am I 32?
You turned 33 this year,
Yeah,
right?
I just turned. That doesn't feel right to me. I feel like I'm 32. I was born in 1993. That makes me 33.
Yeah.
No,
well,
I know.
January 8th, but
I know I did because I remember talking to you and being like, if it's my 33rd birthday, that means I just finished my 33 year of living. But I technically say that I'm 33. So which year is my Christ consciousness? Anyway, continue.
That's all. I just wanted to share that. I thought it was interesting.
I did also want to note like this very interesting thing that I learned about matriarchal spaces in the animal kingdom, that animals that go through menopause typically live in a matriarchy society. And when you really break that down, I think it's because, a female is born and she is being cared for and taking in that knowledge, right? Just like any baby would. And then as they get older and whatever, and then they have their own children, then they're using that knowledge to take care of that child. And in turn, they're probably taking care of a family of children or surrounding community. Then the child is grown and ready to have their own children. And now you have this woman, this female, who has the experience and the wisdom with no responsibility of actually taking care of the individual. So has the wisdom and time and space to take care of everyone because they've had that experience and knowledge. Whereas in the animal kingdom, you're not seeing the males take care of the children as often. And I'm not even saying that in a judgmental way. It's just what we see, right? They have other jobs that they're taking care of. And that is that matriarchal sense in the biological of divine feminine and masculine, where we've been told two things, where it's either women follow, right? We follow what men want from us. We live in traditional roles and we do all this. Or sometimes the spiritual lens where it's women just need to surrender. Women just need to surrender. And it's like, yeah, everyone needs to surrender. That's the way of life. But actually, biologically and like Chinese medicine and energetically, women are meant to lead. We are not meant to just surrender and sit down for things to happen without leading that. And we're not meant to follow anyone. We are meant to lead by getting an intuitive hit and saying, I see what's happening in my community. I've heard from the voices of the most vulnerable. I understand what the issue is, and I have the intuitive hit to know what our next step is to serve everyone. And now I look to the divine masculine and I say, hey, we need to build this structure. And the divine masculine says, you fucking got it, boss. Right? And that's why even in the animal kingdom, we see them protecting or hunting or doing all that, not because they're the leaders, but because the women were like, these children are vulnerable. These cubs are vulnerable. You will protect them and I will make sure that all is running well. So it's this idea that we need to not be followers. We need to not. And I think that's where this like rage comes in, but it's not rage. It's empowerment. It's not rage. It's empowerment, right? It's women coming together and being like, no, we're not going to do that. And we don't need to do that by punch you in the face. We're going to do that by standing together. I always want to punch everyone in the face. I just saw a video today about in Rome, Israeli and Palestinian mothers coming together, and they've been walking barefoot in Rome for days and days and singing together and being like, and apparently they've been doing this for mad long because it's the women being like, nope. We need to take care of the babies. What the fuck are you guys doing right now? We need to take care of the children. We need to take care of the most vulnerable. Like, we need to stand together to take care of this land and the people who live on it and the animals and the plants. So it's even in those modalities in your internal world. Where are you moving from structure first instead of intuitive first? And that was my whole last year, right? I don't need to make a list of, let me think of all the things I need to get done right now, and then I'll just go in order. No, I need to take a pause and say, let me take inventory. Let me be present in this moment and get the intuitive hit of what needs to happen next. And then invoke my divine masculine and say, what are the structures I put to make sure that that is done properly? And that's the kind of things that we need to be building. And I think what's equally important is recognizing that a matriarchy will not be in place before the structures are broken. It's happening simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Everything needs to happen simultaneously. Otherwise, we won't know where to go.
First off, I need a man who says, yes, boss, because that's how we are. I've been really sitting and reflecting on our identities, especially my identity, not having children, not having been married, and taking on this archetype of mother to all. And that feels so good. And I feel so at the fruit is ripe for me to be stepping into that position. But there's still so much taboo and shame and like, I'm not a real woman. I'm not a contributor to society and all, like navigating through that muck to really see through how I can ultimately be of service and contribute as this mother for all. But even your identity now, you're about to be a married woman and a mother. And yes.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. But you get to redefine it in your own way now, which I'm really excited to witness for you. Yeah.
I am so grateful every day that we waited until we did. And I think, there was some piece when we were talking about it last year about how are we going to bring kids into this world, But the importance of bringing children or tending to the children that are already here is so important because they're the next generation. That's who's going to take care of us. And I think there is this, I think I said it a couple episodes ago about like being mindful of false prophets, because there's going to be people who come in and say, oh, well, follow me. Listen to me. Your girl was a diehard Obama fan at that time. But apparently, rumor has it, he's going to be coming and running for president. And I'm like, no, that's not what we need. That's
what?
you. Yeah, I saw this clip. I don't know if it's true. Fact check me. That he was like, oh, you need me? And it's like, no, we don't. Sit down. Because you were a part of the problem. It's a savior like that where he had high ratings that comes in and goes, I'm going to save us, but keeps us in the patriarchy, keeps us in the systems that aren't working. So being really mindful, and that's why we start small. Last time Victoria said it's an inside job. You start here, you start internally, you deconstruct the patriarchy within yourself. Step into the matriarchy.
Hey, we'll take Michelle.
Yeah. I'm like,
the true boss.
But it's just, it's being mindful that you're not, again, falling for systems that they're putting in place and that you're creating systems. And I think, we talked about finding your job, find your job. What's your job during this resistance? And something that became really clear to me is a war is not starting. This is the final chapter of a war. We are in the final chapter of a 250-year war on lands, on people, on more than that, on a war on our consciousness, a war against our critical thinking skills. This has been happening not just since Trump was in president. We see that the Republicans are using him as a scapegoat. So everyone's like, oh, no kings, we hate Trump. But it's like, no kings because we want something different as a structure. So being really, really mindful about your next moves in building that for yourself internally first, then thinking about the home in which you reside in and the structures there and the communities you're building outside yourself. So that way we're not even feeding them. When we say, okay, sure, go ahead, run for president, cool. You're still not going to do anything for me because you're still lining your own pockets.
And therefore we need to quit paying them.
Yeah.
I feel like this is just the beginning of us talking about the matriarchy.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
let it be our little gateway drug here.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll keep developing because, like we said, it needs to happen simultaneously. And I think when we talk about you need to find your job, I was able to, through what other people are saying and like kind of piece together with what's been coming to me, 4 categories of jobs. Okay?
Yes.
And it's not just finding which category you belong to, but in that category, there's a million ways that can look. And also knowing that maybe today you're one thing and tomorrow you do something else. So I offer these as just a blueprint. So the first one, I'm like, where is it? First one is the healer, right? So that is the people who have been participating in the 5-minute meditations every Saturday, right? It's the people who pray, who are the therapists, who help heal others, who hold rant nights, who create space. There are so many ways that you can be the healer internally and externally, right? So that's one category. Do you feel you're in the healer space?
And often you are the empath, right? And so I think that there's this reckoning of what does it mean to be an empath today that's sustainable and not draining.
Yes. Another one is the resistor. And these are completely necessary. These are the protesters, because then we recognize who's in space with us and can start to go, okay, these are the people that we organize with. So the resistors who are the people who go and talk at Congress, who are like, no, who speak up for the victims who can't speak for themselves, for those who, a general strike is coming up for, I believe it's like 30 days. And we just had the biggest protest in American history. Why not follow suit with the biggest general strike, right? Not everyone can be that resistor. I know for myself, I'm not going to be on general strike because I want a place for the children to go. And we already talked about not teaching like we normally would, but just being a safe haven, right? So are you the resistor? Are you someone who's fighting against for those who can't fight? Are you the reformer, right? The people who are trying to make changes from within as we deconstruct the system, right? Those are the teachers who are like, actually, let me teach you how to critically think instead of just using ChatGPT. They are the TSA agents who are working without pay. It's the reformer that says, you can't control me. As the worker, I will do what needs to be done. And then the final one is the architect or the rebuilder, right? What can you create that is going to help those people who are fighting and resisting and reforming say, I'm reforming because look at what's being built over there. So that could be in your day-to-day jobs being like, actually, we're going to restructure this whole thing. This isn't working anymore. It could be like creating community or mutual aid or switching to a sliding scale, right? What are you going to do to restructure society? And all of those things have to happen simultaneously. Because if we're not building something, if we're not creating something new, then resistors and reformers are going to be like, what am I fighting for? Right? If we're not healing those resistors and reformers, they're not going to bring that energy and momentum for the rebuilders or the architects to create something new. So it's really important that you're identifying which one is your medicine, right? For me particularly, I think I'm the architect. Right? What structures can I continue to put in place, whether it's skill shares, mutual aid, working with other schools on how to build curriculum that makes sense for what we need right now. But yesterday I spent 2 hours in meditation focusing on healing, right? So you can find those little avenues. And I think it's so crucially important that you understand your job so we can start to organize and go, okay, I know who my healer is after a protest. Right? I'm an empath and I know that I'm taking on a lot and I need to go to the architects to understand what structures or what, not physical structures, but modalities of movement I can go to so that way I'm not burning myself as an empath. So once you identify, then it's sharing your voice. Hey, this is my job. I'm really good at thinking about other ways of functioning. I'm an architect. I'm really good at helping you heal through this and move through grief. I'm really good at finding the voice to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. You have to identify that and share that with others so we can start to actively organize, because we see when we do things like general strikes, economic blackouts, no king's protests, they do fucking work. So we just need to organize, and we cannot organize until you know what you bring to the table.
Mm-hmm. I like the term conscious creator for architects.
Yes.
I'm going to identify with that.
Yeah.
Having a design background, I'm like, I'm not an architect, but I I feel you. And I love those archetypes to hone in on and start to really sink deeper into your medicine that you have to offer, because you have so much to give and contribute to this world.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah. Thank you for doing the inner work and the outer work, because just like everything needs to be happening at once, so does that.
Mm-hmm.
There is no more time for sitting and just doing the internal work without sharing at least the knowledge you've gained from that with others.
Yeah.
We're in the last chapter of this war. I truly, truly believe that. And I mean the war on consciousness. We are that's why it's like we are having the largest awakening that the earth has seen at once. And we just need to keep going. Go to the next one. General strike. Do whatever you got to do. But don't give up, because this is the last leg. I said last time, ripping out the roots. That means if we're ripping out the roots, we're at the end of it all.
Yeah.
We just have to keep going and then not placate and fall into, like we've seen in the past with America, oh, we quote unquote abolish slavery, so we don't have to think about it anymore. It's over. No, it's not. They just named it something different.
The distractions will be plenty. So hone in, soften into your sovereignty, trust that you are on the right path. And I want to bring up just the distractions are going to be so comical if you are looking at it from that cosmic perspective, especially if you came here for this reason and this point in time.
Which you did.
You're an agent of change. This is why you're here, right? But then we're also human, and we're living out all these bizarro human experiences where it's like, I'm done with the distractions. I'm like, get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing of them being like, the systems don't work unless you contribute. So if I stop being distracted and be like, oh, and this is happening, oh, and this is happening, and don't leave yourself in the dark. You be knowledgeable. Maybe that's one of your jobs as the resistor, is to gather the information and make it digestible to everyone else and just say, here's the pieces of importance, right? You don't need to be taking in every fucking thing in the world at once.
Only the beauty
that we're creating.
Well, we said we're going to keep it short and sweet today, but you know how we do.
Well, I can't ever shut up.
Shut up and sit down. Sit down and shut up.
Not anymore.
Good. We need you.
Love you.
Love you. Thank you. See you next month.